What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today we're talking about this.
Given the increasing number in recent years of sightings by serious military personnel of unknown aircraft operating outside our current abilities, if at this point you don't believe aliens are here and observing us, maybe you're the conspiracy theorist. The government's official public line is, we don't know what these things are. But in private, what they say is, no, seriously, we don't know what the fuck these things are. But they didn't leak from a lab in China. If you don't believe me now, you will in June when Steven Spielberg's movie called Disclosure Day comes out. This on the heels of the documentary from last year called Age of Disclosure. You get it? Disclosure? We're at the disclosure moment in human history. So can we cut the crap? They're here, they came in a sphere, get used to it.
Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, y'all. All right, so what's today's video about? Well, it's about Bill Maher, who is the host of Real Time with Bill Maher, if you're not familiar, a political pundit, I guess you would say, who has a clip going viral right now talking about UFOs, disclosure, and specifically the argument that UFO skeptics are the new conspiracy theorists. Basically, if you don't believe that aliens are visiting Earth, you're now the conspiracy theorist, because the evidence is overwhelming that aliens are visiting Earth. So we're going to dive into these comments and see if we can add a little more context. Annoyed with all those misleading healthy meals that are anything but? Tired of locking in for another New Year's trend? Green Chef cuts through the noise as the trusted authority in clean eating, delivering only real farm-sourced ingredients you can actually feel good about. Trust every single bite. With over 40 clean, customizable weekly recipes, Green Chef gives you real peace of mind. Every box comes packed with certified organic produce and responsibly sourced proteins and seafood. No ultra-processed fillers ever. You get science-backed nutrition tailored to your goals. Mediterranean, high protein, high fiber, plant-based, and more. All clinically proven to support healthier habits. And the convenience? They do the research, the meal planning, and the grocery shopping for you. Just low prep, low mess meals that fit any lifestyle. Plus, Green Chef is the most sustainable meal kit out there, cutting food waste by up to 45% versus regular grocery shopping, and offsetting 100% of delivery emissions. I use Green Chef, and you should too. Head to greenchef.com/50vetted and use code 50vetted to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 more months with free shipping. That's code 50vetted at greenchef.com/50vetted. All right, so basically this viral segment takes place at the end of his show where he does something called New Rules. I've been following Bill Maher for a long time, back since the 90s when he had Politically Incorrect, and I've been listening to Real Time with Bill Maher for quite a while. I have to be honest, the last few years I haven't really been watching it, just because I've just politically just try to stay out of all that, to be honest with you, because of how divisive things are. But I have been listening to his podcast, Club Random, where he has talked about UFOs quite a bit on there, and on Real Time with Bill Maher. He's recently gotten very interested in it. So we'll dive into that as well. All right. Let's begin.
Finally, new rule, given the increasing number in recent years of sightings by serious military personnel of unknown aircraft operating outside our current abilities, if at this point you don't believe aliens are here and observing us, maybe you're the conspiracy theorist.
And look, I think this comment is really, he tries to be, I don't want to say controversial, but he tries to push the limit a little bit with these segments that he does at the end of his show, right? Say something that's going to go viral, right? So I get it, right? To be honest with you. He's saying maybe, right? Maybe you're the conspiracy theorist. So I don't really hold that to, I take it with a grain of salt. There was a lot of people very upset by that comment, like, oh my God, okay, he's crazy, right? But, he's saying maybe, right? Let's look at the evidence. Let's see. Maybe it is so overwhelming that, you would be the crazy one to not think, right? Unless you're in this all the time, like I am, and maybe a lot of you watching, right? I think we have a little more informed opinion than Bill Maher about this, which is kind of interesting to say, to be honest with you, because I know for a fact that he writes these himself. Now, I do think he gets some help probably from some writers, but he does a lot of it himself and approves it at the end of it. So anyway, I wouldn't take this, to heart too much. I think it's really just for the shock value of saying this, right, to begin his new rule.
In the past, when it came to alien life, I was like a liberal college girl whose roommate is a lesbian. Not sold on it, but open to the possibility. But look, my opinion changes when the information changes. Yes, there was a time when the only actual contact we heard from about aliens was rural people who'd been abducted and anally probed. But you don't hear about that anymore. Why? My guess is the aliens gathered all the information they needed about us that they could get through our ass. It's where I'd look.
All right, so look, he's going to add a lot of humor to this, which honestly, I don't mind. It makes messages easier to digest, if you will, right? We can laugh about this a little bit. But this is where Bill's starting his, speech, let's say, at the end of his show here. And this is where the sign of, I don't want to say ignorance, but he's a little naive to what's actually being talked about in the UFO community, right? Because absolutely people still talk about being probed, if you will, right? That is still a thing. Absolutely. So again, I think he thinks that the topic has moved into this higher echelon where it's like more elite now and it's serious. And he doesn't really understand the UFO community at all, because a lot of people are saying that still to this day. And what's interesting is a person that he brings up later in this speech has also, that's part of their story, that they were probed as well. So it's kind of interesting that he says they don't talk about it anymore. And then he doesn't know the person he brought up later in the speech, that's happened to them. At least that's what they've claimed, right? So again, I think he's trying to separate it. Like, it used to be this crazy stuff, but now it's this super serious stuff, right? Oh, Bill, if you only knew.
But now they seem to be on to another phase. They seem to want to be spotted. Why else this constant playing peekaboo with our military? And it's serious people now. Not hippies or hillbillies, serious people. People with Mike Pence's haircut. Who are saying that they keep seeing things move through air and ocean in ways that defy our physics. Military pilots who say, yeah, I saw something doing Mach 10 and then it stopped on a dime and disappeared. That's not a drone. That's not something from another country. Even Elon is like, not me.
Again, I think Bill's showing his, I guess, I don't know, ignorance. I don't know the right word here again. But, this stuff has been talked about a long time. And what Bill doesn't know is that all these stories are old, right? And he's saying it's not hillbillies and hippies anymore. It's serious people with serious haircuts. Does he not pay attention to who comes out and who talks? And to be fair, I'd actually prefer to hear from a, quote, hillbilly. I'm from Texas. I'd much rather hear from some farmer, and some hippie than some government person coming forward. You don't know why they're telling you what they're telling you. Again, he's getting such a small slice of the pie, in my opinion. But it's okay. This is what people do, right? This is, I'm sure he's not in it all the time. I think Bill, what he suffers from most is that he's watched a couple documentaries, and he brings up one specifically, and he's had people tell him things that he trusts. So he just runs with that.
The government's official public line is, we don't know what these things are. But in private, what they say is, no, seriously, we don't know what the fuck these things are. But they didn't leak from a lab in China.
So again, this idea that we don't know what these things are, yet they're aliens. So make that make sense. We don't know what they are, but they're alien. Huh. Right? That's, again, make that make sense. Is readily admitting we don't know what these things are, but they're alien because, well, they can't be from China. They can't be from Russia. They can't be from that. They can't be from that. Right? What are you talking about? How do you know that? Right? How do we know that? We don't. Right? It's not a drone. Again, he's just using a lot of talking points from people in the UFO community. Right? So I think that's just where he's getting his information, essentially. I wish he would get all the information. Right? If he only knew, right? Then if he still had the same opinion, whatever. And at the end of the day, it's okay to say this, right? He's putting out his opinion. And at the end of the day, they're talking about this in a big platform, right? I mean, real time reaches probably, I looked it up. They reach almost 1 million people. I mean, if we're being honest, there's YouTube channels that reach way more than that. Shit, vetted. My small little channel reaches over 500,000 people a month. Individual people, and I get millions of views a month, right? I'm reach half the audience that Real Time with Bill Maher gets, which is insane to me. But again, his clips are more likely to go viral than vetted's, right? But I do find that interesting. We can look at the positives here. But again, I do think Bill is just getting a small piece of the puzzle.
That's why in 2022, Congress had historic first-of-its-kind hearings on what the Defense Department calls unidentified aerial phenomena, formerly called UFOs, but don't dead name them. And again, it's not weirdos and beardos saying this. It's the guys with buzz cuts and security clearances who are spilling the tea. And politicians who you don't think are crazy people, like Chuck Schumer, Harry Reid, Marco Rubio, Kirsten Gillibrand. They're not disputing it. Jimmy Carter said he saw a UFO. George W. Bush said, yeah, there are secrets about aliens, and no, I won't tell you.
So again, another shot at weirdos and beardos, which what he doesn't understand is that those people are still out talking about this stuff. And there's some of the people he's mentioning without mentioning them, right? And there is this push to sort of distinguish between what the UFO community was and what it is now. But even though they built their, off the backs of these weirdos and beardos and these hippies and hillbillies, right? No respect, right? It's still a stigma. He's still, in my opinion, pushing a stigma, and this notion to help separate it and elevate it into this super serious thing, right? We got super serious people working on this now, so it's super serious. Yeah, but the details are still the same, and it's still the same information coming from decades ago. Like, there's actually nothing new. Right? That's what Bill doesn't understand. And again, unless you're in this and follow it regularly, you wouldn't know any of this stuff. But I do find it a little alarming to sort of create this sort of prestigious exploration of this topic and phenomena. Wait till Bill finds out all the crazy shit that some of these people that he looks up to are saying, right? We'll get to that in a second.
Barack Obama recently made headlines when he said aliens, quote, are real, but I haven't seen them. Former Director of National Intelligence, General James Clapper, is on board, and our current Director of National Intelligence has indicated that she believes in the possibility of alien life.
So what's interesting is Tulsi Gabbard. That's a great example. Let's take that one. We could talk about many of the other people that he mentioned, but recently Jeremy Corbell came out and said that Tulsi Gabbard's people and the ODNI are trying to smother the UAP stuff, not because there's no proof that they're doing it because it's real. It's kind of an interesting take that like mentioning these people. See, these are credible people talking about it, as if the people before weren't credible, right? Again, it's not about the credibility of the person coming forward. I mean, that matters to an extent, but at the end of the day, it's what evidence are they bringing forward? I mean, are we really going to just take the word of people for the greatest discovery in the history of mankind? What if a scientist came forward, right? Well-respected scientist, and just laid out some new thing about science, and everyone was like, well, he's credible, so let's just believe him. He doesn't need to prove it. He needs to provide no evidence. It doesn't need to be replicated. So-and-so said it, so it must be true, right? That's where we're at. And then the reason they give you that, well, we can't provide you the evidence because it's classified. It's behind a wall that we can't get to. And I'm held to an NDA. If I tell you the rest, it's classified. I could go to jail. I can tell you all these other things, though, right, that somehow, oddly enough, aren't classified. Again, I don't know. I don't know.
If you don't believe me now, you will in June when Steven Spielberg's movie called Disclosure Day comes out. This on the heels of the documentary from last year called Age of Disclosure. You get it? Disclosure? We're at the disclosure moment in human history. So can we cut the crap? They're here, they came in a sphere, get used to it.
They're here, they came in a sphere, get used to it. Well, where's the evidence, Bill? It's honestly, it's interesting. If I was sitting across, that's what I'd ask him. What evidence have you seen that that's happened? Well, these credible people. That's not enough, right? I mean, just the same thing. He covers politics. Wouldn't you want evidence of people's claims? And it's been widely accepted in the UFO community that there are so many holes in the age of disclosure. And that's really what he's basing this off of. And if you haven't followed Bill Maher, you wouldn't even know that. Right? Because Bill Maher has had Dan Farrow on, the director. He's talked about UFOs, and everything comes from that. This documentary, Age of Disclosure, just changed his mind. This is happening. These are super serious people, so this must be super serious, right? And he's convinced, right? But he doesn't know all the holes that are in Age of Disclosure, all the contradictions. But I'll be honest, as he said at the beginning, if new information comes out, he will change his mind. I don't think, and I think there's people around Bill Maher that are gatekeeping information to him, right? So that he only gets certain information about this topic. But when he finds out about that, he's going to tell a different story. So it's my prediction that Bill Maher is going to turn back on this. I think he'll go against disclosure eventually. That's what I think is going to happen, because he's going to realize nothing came out. Well, you promised disclosure. Where is it, right? He's saying we're in this, it's disclosure time. But when he realizes nothing's going to happen, because I've been talking about disclosure for decades, he's going to be pissed, right? So, again, you got to be real careful who you invite in and get them all excited about this, because once they find out there's nothing potentially to be excited about, or where all the promises that you made that don't get fulfilled, they're going to turn. And I think Bill Maher will be one of them. So, in my opinion, this is Bill Maher's opinion now. But just wait and see how he'll change. I don't know how long it'll take, a year, 2, 3 years, but he will be upset, and he'll probably talk about how he got duped once more information comes on. I'm calling it now.
I would now like to address the aliens directly in my capacity as the most rational person on Earth, which I'm sure they know. I'm sure they know everything about me. If they figured out intergalactic travel, I'm guessing they have cable. And so, as the representative of all humans, the first thing I'd like to say to you is, hi. Please don't kill us, even though you could.
So this is just a funny part, and I get what he's doing here. He wants to address the aliens because he thinks they're watching his show. Again, this is more humorous than anything. But again, as he established earlier, we don't know what this is. So you don't even know if you're talking to aliens, even if it is as a joke, right? It's sort of these moments at the end are meant as a joke, but also serious, right? Don't forget that. They're serious with jokes, peppered with humor. It's not the other way around. It's not humor peppered with something serious, right? So the baseline is he's meaning for this to be serious. And he thinks they have the ability to wipe us out. But based on what?
Probably just by pushing a button, and I'm guessing you think about it every time you see Jake Paul's podcast. Look, we've seen you go from 0 to what the fuck was that in half a second. We get it. There's no sense trying to fight you. 2 years ago, one of our drones launched a Hellfire missile at a high-speed orb, and it hit it and just bounced off. First of all, I'd just like to offer an apology for that on behalf of all humans. That was our bad. That was dumb.
So this is hilarious. That Jake Paul joke was pretty funny, I have to admit. And then he shows this video at the end, this Hellfire video, right? Because as he's been told, to him, that was a UFO, an orb that got hit by a drone missile, right? A Hellfire missile. I mean, that's how it was sold. But anyone who's followed this, that's not fact with it. It's still debated on what that is flying and what hit it and bounced off, right? So he's apologizing that, hey, my bad, we shouldn't have shot that at you, right? Wait till he finds out what Greer, what Jake Barber, what these Michael Herrera, what these guys have say we're doing for the government. This is what I mean. He has no idea what's under this iceberg, right? There's some crazy accusations out here. Even Dan Farah, we're shooting them down, right? Talk to Elizondo, all these guys, they're just giving Bill the bits to put this stuff out, right? But he has no idea all of the stories that were allegedly attacking all of these aliens. Wouldn't he be upset? Like, whoa, what are you doing? If this is real, why are you doing that on our behalf? They could start a cosmic, solar system war, all-out war. I guarantee you he'd be upset, right? What are you doing? Right? But again, he doesn't know any of this stuff. It's interesting to hear him talk about this stuff, having such little knowledge about it, right? And you can tell that even the writers that help them are using very few sources, right, to get this information out. Very cherry picked, right? Because he does cover politics and he tries to be bipartisan, which I appreciate, right? But and the UFO community tries to be bipartisan, which I also appreciate. But what he doesn't know is that in the UFO community, there are different narratives, right? Even within the government. Is he going to start covering all of that? There are different ideas of what's happening, what's going on. Everyone claiming they have the truth. And I promise you, it's more than just the left and the right. There's the left, the right, the up, the down, the inside, the outside, the around, the block. There's all kinds of narratives going on. I'm just saying, that's very interesting. Again, even the people in Age of Disclosure, the film that he references the most on his podcast, on this show, are all over the place.
So it certainly would be understandable if you decided we were just too stupid to live. It must be maddening studying us, because we are obviously capable of advancements that aren't completely embarrassing, like gene editing and cloud computing, but we're also idiots. We're the species that created the internet.
Well, the internet is how we're all seeing this, Bill, but yeah, don't really have too much to say about this, right? Are we so inferior to aliens? I mean, that's just a whole bigger argument. I can make a whole video on that, but let me know what you think down in the comments.
So I don't know what we can offer you. The stuff that we think makes living here great, I'm guessing you're way beyond sex and good food and getting fucked up. I doubt if you care about that stuff. Minerals? We got them. I don't know if that still interests you. You may be beyond them, or maybe ours are obsolete. Although, have you heard about clean coal? I kid. But yeah, I don't know what we have here for you. Climate, we think ours is pretty uniquely pleasant in the universe, but who knows what you have? But just so you know, ours has trillions of viruses in it, and that's what killed the aliens in War of the Worlds. Just pointing that out as a friend.
All right. I mean, I laughed a lot at this, right? There's just some humorous things there. But again, wait till Bill finds out that there are people in that Age of Disclosure film, okay, who think we're being farmed out, our souls. It's a zoo. Again, no one agrees because no one knows, but they think they know. And they're trying to sell it. And at the same time say, we don't know what it is, right? Ambiguity. Like I always say, this community thrives on ambiguity, because it can always go one way or the other anytime you need it to, right? When you're trying to push a narrative, you can go either way with it, whatever you need. It's malleable. Ambiguity.
Because I'd like to think we are friends. After all, if you wanted us dead, we'd be dead already. Truth is, you may be here to save us, not kill us. In 1967, an Air Force captain and nuclear crew commander who were there revealed an incident when something unidentifiable hovered over Maelstrom Air Base in Montana, and then miraculously 10 nuclear weapons suddenly became disabled. Was something about to go terribly wrong and you stepped in? Whatever it is, please do more shit like that.
And here we go. This is what I was talking about earlier when he brought up, people aren't talking about getting probed anymore. That doesn't happen. Oh, yeah? Well, the guy that he's talking about in this story is Robert Salas, and I've actually interviewed him on the show. And Robert Salas talked about getting probed. That was part of his story. That came out later, right? But Bill doesn't know that, so he doesn't bring that up, right? That this guy from the story also claimed to have been probed. Why not bring that up? Why not tell his whole experience? Are you embarrassed of it? Right? Is one thing's okay, one thing's credible, but the next thing's not? That seems odd, right? Again, he's just not getting all the information. I'm sure if someone told him, he'd be like, well, I didn't know that, right? So you just have to be real careful when people put these narratives forward. That's why, unfortunately, you have to do your own research when it comes to something so big like this, right? Because just taking the word of people, myself included, to help you gain an informed opinion about something that is so world-changing is odd. I get it if you're not doing a lot of research to find out, about most mundane things in life, right? That makes sense. But it's supposed to change humanity forever. You'd think you'd want to do a little research on your own to find out, what's going on, and not just trust me bros, right? And just trusting people that you like or think they find credible. Something I will always push on the show. I'll give you my opinion. It's my opinion. It means nothing. It's not any more important than yours. Your opinion is just as valid as mine. But it's just that, an opinion. I have done a lot of research on this, but that research helps me form my opinion, right? So you kind of got to do yours to form your opinion, right? It's just kind of how it works, because you might see something that I research and look at it differently and interpret it differently, and that's okay. Right? I think it's cool that we can all think differently about this. But when your information is withheld from you so that you can't have that informed opinion, that's what's, sad to me. When people are left to have to make what they might call an informed opinion with a narrow band of information. Don't you want to know more? If you still feel that way after, wouldn't you feel better? But to know the same people telling you they're gatekeeping information from the government, the government's gatekeeping information from you, those people are also gatekeeping information from you. It's happening right here, right in front of our eyes with Bill Maher. All right, betters, let me know what you think down in the comments. We'll see you on the next one. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.